Today our topic is operating system, and in this lecture we are going to discuss some points related to operating system such as the silent kernel. As you know that operating system is part of unit 1, but some portion of operating system also is a part of unit 2, that is the cyber safety, which is the part of the term 1 syllabus. So we will discuss in this video that what is the difference between the silent kernel. So let's start. First of all, as you know that what is operating system? Operating system is nothing but only the interface between the user and the hardware. So basically operating system we can divide operating system into two parts. These are shell and kernel. So what is shell? The shell acts as the interpreter which does these things. First one, as you can see on screen, gets a command instruction from the user. Second, translate the received commands instruction into the machine language. And third, pass the translated command to the kernel to get it done. So these are the basically key tasks of a shell. So one, so basically, operating system is the interface between the user and the hardware, and the shell is the part which is responsible for the interaction to the user. We can say that, and its main task is to translate the received command and instruction into the machine level language. It means into 0 and 1. And finally, this shall pass this translated command to the kernel to get it done. So this is the task of a shell. Next is the kernel. The kernel is a core part of an operating system, and it functions at a basic level, the communicating with the actual hardware and managing resources such as CPU and the memory, and it works as an interface between the user application and the hardware. So as we know that the operating system is nothing but only the interface between the user and the hardware. So the part that is responsible for the interaction to the hardware is called the kernel. So kernel basically interact with the hardware, and it is the core part of an operating systems, and it basically manage all resources such as CPU and the memory. So that is the task of an kernel. So in short, we can say that operating system basically divides into two parts: shell and the kernel. Shell communicate to user, and kernel communicate with hardware. So these are the two parts, and operating system, as we know that, is nothing but only the interface between the user and the hardware. And also the main uh, work of the kernel is to resource management, such as the CPU and the memory. And the main task of the shell convert convert the command or instruction into machine level language. So these are the tasks of the shell and the kernel. Next, as you can see on the screen, the kernel. These are the different tasks or work uh, for which the kernel is responsible. First is process management. Second is input output management. Third is interrupt and event handling. Fourth is memory management. Then time management and file management. So these are the tasks done by the kernel. So basically, as we know that kernel is nothing but only the interface do as a task between the interface between the uh, with the operating system and the hardware. So beside this, kernel do certain important work or functions such as process management. So what is the process management? Actually, kernel, it is the task of the kernel to decide which process to be run or which process is waiting for when more than one process are going to be executed. So this is the main task of an kernel, which is a part of the operating system, of course. So process management is one of them. Next, and also as we know that there is a process life cycle, such as when process enter into the computer system, that is it is new for that time. It may be wait for certain time period. It may be ready for ready for execution. Uh, After execution process is over, and so these are the part of the life cycle. So basically, uh, kernel manage all these phases of the process management. Next is input output management. Kernel is also responsible for different operation related to input output management. Next is interrupt and event handling. Assume that when certain input or output devices want to get the time of a CPU, then it sends a signal to the CPU, and that signal is called the interrupt signal. And and basically operating system manage this interrupt signal, and on the behalf of that interrupt, CPU perform certain tasks and give the priority uh, to different tasks. That is called the interrupt handling. And so basically operating system or the kernel, which is the part of the operating system, perform the interrupt and the event handling. Different event also manages by operating system or the kernel also. Next is memory management. There are only basically two operations. These are the read and write operations. So kernel, which is a part of an operating system, is also responsible for different access, that means read or write operations regarding to a memory. Next is timer management. Timer management means basically um, different process, when different process are running into a computer system, then CPU decide, then the kernel, which is a part of the operating system, decides which process is going to be executed in uh, how much interval of time. So that is also called the timer management. So timer management is also done by the kernel. And next is file management. All the files related to operating system are also managed by kernel. So these are the basic tasks of the kernel management. So as we can see that kernel basically the main is the main or core part of the or core part of the operating system, which is responsible for the process management, input output management, interrupt and event handling, memory management, and timer management and file system. Now we can conclude that operating system is nothing but only the interface between the user and the hardware, and we can divide operating system into two parts, shell and the kernel. The part which is responsible for the interaction with the user is called the shell, and the part which is responsible for the interaction with kernel is called the is responsible for interaction with the hardware is called the kernel. Sorry. So the part which is responsible for the interaction with the kernel is interaction with the hardware is called the kernel. And some different tasks of the kernels are process management, input output management, interrupt and event handling, memory management, time management, and file management. So these are the tasks of a kernel. Now again go to the first slide and let us see. It will give you now a clear idea what is the function of shell and the kernel. So shell acts as an interpreter which does three things basically: get the command instruction from the user, first thing. Second is translate the received command instruction into the machine language. Third, pass the translated command to the kernel to get it done. And shell, which is the core part of the operating system, basically functions at a basic level, communicating with the actual hardware and managing resources such as CPU and the memory, and it works as an interface between the user application and the hardware. And these are the different functions performed by kernel: process management, input output management, interrupt and event handling, memory management, timer management, and file management. Next, there are two types of kernel. These are monolithic kernel and microkernel. So in a single module carried out above mentioned task is kernel. Such a kernel is called the monolithic kernel. If there is a single module, okay, if there is a single module which perform all these tasks, and task are process management, input output management, interrupt and event handling, memory management, timer management, file management, then this is called as a monolithic kernel. Second is microkernel. If the kernel contain minimalistic module for basic functions only and get other services done through separately written specialized software, means a separated device driver or file system, then this type of kernel is called the microkernel. So these are the two basic types of kernel: monolithic kernel and microkernel. So the basic difference is that in monolithic kernel there is only a single module which perform all the tasks related to a kernel, while in a microkernel there are separately written specialized software which perform these tasks. This is process management, input output management, interrupt and event handling, timer management, and file systems. Okay. Next, our topic is device driver. This is a very important topic. And what is device driver? Basically, a device driver is a group of files that enable one or more hardware devices to communicate with the computer's operating system. So, device driver is nothing but only the files, and these files is responsible for communication with hardware devices. And without this, you cannot run these hardware devices in our computer system, in your computer's operating system. So, first of all, for example, let us take an example. If you want to work within a printer in a computer system, so first of all you connect with your um, printer with a computer system, and after that if you want to take a printout, then it is not possible until and unless you don't install device driver of your printer into your computer system. Without this you are not able to communicate. So device driver is basically a group of files that enables one or more hardware devices to communicate with the computer's operating system. So these are the some topics related to operating system. Now our next topic is computer network. So what is computer network? A computer network is a collection of interconnected computers and other devices which are able to communicate with each other and share hardware and software resources. And second definition is the collection of interconnected computers is called a computer network. And two computers are said to be interconnected if they are capable of sharing and exchanging information. So the main thing is in computer network, one or more computers are connected to each other. And why they are connected to each other? Because we want sharing of different resources such as the hardware and the software. So if we want to share resources such like hardware and software, so we just connect two different computers. So computer network is a collection of interconnected computers, and with other devices such as the printer, etc., which are able to communicate with each other. In short, we can say that the collection of interconnected computers is called the computer network. That is the smallest definition of a computer network. The collection of interconnected computers is called a computer network. So you can see here that is a diagram which shows the computer network, and in this diagram, okay, now you can easily see it. Main server is there, which is the main computer, and all other computers are connected to each other. So first of all, we can see that a printer is connected to that server. After that, there are four different computers are here which are connected to each other and with the server itself. So, and you can see that in the center ring is written. And what is ring? Basically, it is a topology. Topology are nothing but only the method by which different computers are connected to each other. In ring topology, basically, computer are connected in such a way that they form a ring. You can see here that a ring is formed here, in which one computer is connected to two other different computers. So you can see that this computer is connected to these two computers, and this computer is also connected to these two computers. So this is the type of topology. One of the most simple type of topology is bus topology, in which different computers are connected to each other via a single cable. So ring is one of the topology in which different computers are connected such a way that they form a ring. Then you can see that this is an example of bus topology in which two computers are connected to each other, and these are also connected with the main server. And this is a standalone computer which is also connected with the server, and this is another device printer which is connected to the server. So these are the different computers connected to each other and connected directly to the server. So that is an example of a computer network. So we can say that computers are called interconnected computers are called computer network. So these are different computers or devices which are interconnected to a main computer that is called the server. So this is an example of computer network. Next, uses of networking. So what are the uses of networking? What is the need of computer network? So first is resource sharing. Resource sharing means to make all programs, data, and peripheral means input output devices, and second is storage devices, available to anyone on the network irrespective of the physical location of the resources and the user. So the main purpose of the purpose to use computer network is basically resource sharing. We want to share a resource. In previous example, you can see that there is a single printer, and this printer can be used by any one of the computer connected connected in a computer network system. So basically, this printer is shared by all of the computers connected in a computer network. So that is the main advantage of a computer network. So now I think uses of networks are clear to all of you. Resource sharing, reliability, cost factor, and communication medium. Let us take a quick revision of all these uses. Resource sharing, one of more resources such as peripheral devices are used by each and every computer connected via computer network. Reliability means keep a copy of a file of two or more different machines. So one of them is unavailable due to some hardware crash or any other, then its other copy can be used. Third is cost factor. Cost factor means it greatly reduces the cost since the resources can be shared. So if the resources can be shared, automatically cost factor should be minimized. Then communication medium means one can send messages or whatever the sending at one end are done can be immediately noticed at another. Next is advantage of computer network. So resource sharing, cost saving, collaborative user interaction, time saving, and increased storage. These are the advantage of a computer network. I think three of them are related to uses of a network, and these two are also important: time saving and increased storage. These are the advantage of a computer network. This saves our times because we are able to connect each and every computer which is a part of a computer network, and it also increase our storage capacity because we can now able to share our data in any computer connected using a computer network. Next is evolution of the network. So first of all, in 1969 the first network came into existence, that is called the ARPANET, and it is asked so many number of times on his examination that what is the full form of ARPANET. ARPANET is nothing but only the Advanced Research Project Agency Network. So this is the full form, which is very important. This is the first network, and this provides the base of internet. And in mid 1980s, NSF net is there. And full form of NSF net is National Science Foundation Network. And in 1990, the internetworking of the ARPANET, NSFNet, and other private network resulted into the internet. And you can see the diagram here, which gives you a clear idea about the internet. You can easily see here that in 1969 ARPANET is there. After that, 1980 NSFNet, and NSFNet finally converted into internet in 1990. That is also very important. So the first computer network is ARPANET, and that came into existence in 1969. Now some important terms are here. First of all, internet. What is internet? Internet is nothing but only the network of networks, and this is a simplest definition of internet. Internet is network of networks. And second important term is interspace. Interspace is a basically client server software program that allows multiple users to communicate online with real-time audio, video, and text chat in dynamic 3D environment. First of all, Interspace is a client server software in which there are many number of clients and a server here, and they allow multiple users and these users communicate online, and they communicate with real-time audios, videos, and text chat in a dynamic 3D environment. That is very important. Dynamic 3D environment. So interface basically client server software. First part of the definition. Second thing, it, it allows multiple users to communicate online. And third part, online with real-time audio, video, text chat in a dynamic 3D environment. So I think now the definition of interface is quite clear to all of you. Third is nodes or the workstations. Basically, the nodes refer to the computer that are attached to a network and are seeking to share the resources of the network. In short, we can say that nodes are nothing but only the computers that are computer or the devices that are the part of a computer network is called the nodes, or sometimes they are called the workstations. So the terms nodes refers to the computer that are attached to a network and seeking to share the resources of the network. Next is backbone. A backbone is a central interconnected structure that connects two or more networks, just like the trunk of a tree or a spine of a human being. So that is called the backbone. So it is nothing but only the central interconnected structure that connect two or more networks. Next is server. Server is a computer that facilitates the sharing of data, software, and hardware resources. That that is printers, modem, etc. on the network. So that is the definition of the server. So server is basically a computer that facilitates the sharing of the data, software, and hardware resources. You can easily see here this diagram. In this diagram, this is the share, and the main task of the share is to facilitate the sharing of the data and the other files and different hardware and software resources. Now, server again can be divided into two basic categories. These are non-dedicated servers and dedicated servers. So the non-dedicated servers are not completely dedicated to cause of serving. Such server can facilitate the resource sharing among workstations on a proportionality small scale, and the small networks using such servers are known as peer-to-peer networks. So these are called the non-dedicated because they are not fully dedicated for serving or cause of serving, and they only facilitate the resource sharing among different workstation node on a proportionality smaller scale. Second is dedicated server. Dedicated server system, one system received for server job, and it work on the principle of the master slave relationship. That is very important, master slave relationship, and it is used in a large network system. So basically we can say that in computer network two types of servers are there. One perform master slave relationship, in which one computer system or the server is work as a master computer, and other systems, which are the client computers, work as a slave systems, and all slave systems get command through a master systems. Only after that a networking is done. That is called the dedicated server. That is the example of a dedicated server. But in case of non-dedicated server, there is a peer-to-peer network. In different computers are connected to each other, and they can communicate or share data through one each other, and no computer in there can play a role as a master. So there is a peer-to-peer relationship between all the computers which are the part of a computer network. So this is called the non-dedicated server. We can say that one computer is not fully dedicated to cause of serving, that is a non-dedicated server, and in which one computer is fully dedicated for serving the server's job by using the master slave relationship, that is called the dedicated server. Some other important terms are related to computer networks are here. First one is NIC. NIC is called the network interface card, which is a very important part of a computer network, and it is a unit or network device which works as an interpreter that helps establish communication between the server and the workstation. And any computer which has to be part of the computer network must have an NIC installed in it. So network interface card basically helps to communicate all the devices to each other Without NIC, we are not able to connect two computers. So NIC, network interface card, is a basically network device, and this network device helps us to connect two computers. The second example, the second important term, which is very important, is called the IP address and the MAC address. IP address is called the Internet Protocol address, and MAC address is called the Media Access Control address. First of all, the most important thing is that both of them are a computer network address. That is the similarity between the MAC address and IP address. But both of them are somehow interrelated to each other and different to each other. So let us talk about first of all MAC address. So network interface card, as we know that the important part of a computer network, and it is a network device, and different computer that are connected to a computer network must possess the NIC, that is network interface card. So network interface card have a unique number, and that unique number basically provides us a MAC address. So the NIC manufacturer assign a unique physical address, and that address is assigned by a NIC manufacturer. Assign a unique physical address to NIC card, and here it is a unique and physical address, not a logical address. It is a physical address, and this physical address is known as the MAC address. So two important things are here. First of all, MAC address is nothing but only the address mentioned on a NIC card, and that address is provided by NIC manufacturer. And third important thing is that it is a physical address. And so you can see here that is the example of a MAC address, in which you can see that this MAC address is divided into two basic parts. In two parts, the prefix part, the prefix indicate that the manufacturer is Intel Corporation, and the last, so first part basically shows the information of a manufacturer. Okay, and the last three numbers basically given the manufacturer to this NIC. So these are the unique address provided by the NIC manufacturer. So this first part basically shows the information about a NIC manufacturer, and second part basically is the address of that NIC card, and it is unique. So no two devices have the same NIC, same MAC address. So in short, we can say that a MAC address is a unique address. It is a physical address, and it is an address mentioned on NIC card. NIC card are basically the important part of a computer network, and this card is installed in each and every computer that are connected to a computer networks. And this address is a unique address which is provided by NIC manufacturer, and this address is divided into two parts. First part shows the information of the NIC manufacturer, and the second part shows the unique address of that unique address, um, which is uh, which is totally different from any other address. Next is IP address. Every machine in a network has another unique identifying number called as the IP address, and an IP address is a group of 4 bits, or we can say that 4 bytes, or we can say the 32 bits, because 1 byte is equal to 8 bits, so 4 bytes is equal to 32 bits, each of which can be a number from 0 to 255. A typical IP address look like this. You can see here that is an example of an IP address. And on a network, IP address of a machine is used to identify it. MAC address is used only when a specific machine is to be targeted. For example, suppose we want to block a specific PC to access some network resources. If we use the PC's IP address, then the PC is not blocked permanently, as its IP address may change when it connects to the computer next time. Instead, we use the PC's MAC address for this purpose. So two important things are here. Actually, three important things are here. First of all, IP address is called the Internet Protocol address, and it is a logical address, and it is a unique address also, and it is provided by the Internet Service Provider or the Computer Network Administrator, and it is unique, and it is a 32-bit address, meaning 4-byte address. So this is the example of the IP address. So the basic difference between uh, MAC address and IP address is that MAC is a physical address, while IP address is a logical address. MAC address is provided by NIC manufacturer, while the IP address is provided by the internet service providers uh, such as um, uh, such as Geo, Vodafone, Airtel, or it is provided by the computer network administrator also, and it can be changed, but it is always a unique. So this is the basic difference between MAC address and IP address. So thanks for watching this video.